Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Familiar faces, nice to see you all again. The new lady here, I don't know. Welcome. All right, how are you today? I see that someone has been traveling, is back safe and sound. Did you enjoy your vacation? The family okay? No fighting? Very strong-willed, the husband, the wives, always butting heads. And they're both right. Doesn't sound good. Okay. All right, just for your information, when we were meditating, there's a kid who cried loudly. Anyone heard? Huh? Next door? Yeah. And he was suffering so much. You notice that? All of a sudden he said, life doesn't make sense anymore. Couldn't express it that way, but that's how he felt like. Okay? Why was it? Anyone? When you go through life, all of a sudden something happens. Suddenly, aren't you curious? What happened? Okay? So I was meditating. I said, oh wow, someone is suffering so much. What happened? So I looked, and what do you think? It was. He said, someone said, I don't care. What does it have to do with me? You should, because you don't know. If people go through lives, and they cannot tell what the problem is. How be in control of your life? You don't recognize what the problem is. How can you solve it? Anyone? Is it too soon to start out with such a profound question? Shall we warm you up first? Let's do jumping jacks. Immediately when I heard of it, I said, depression. Depression. So I verified it. Okay? I looked at depression goes. Immediately he stopped. Depression goes, backed off. So we don't simply talk, okay? We talk after we do. That's how we live our lives. We don't brag about it. We don't talk too much. Right? And also before I came and I said, what I'm going to talk about today, and I remember we're supposed to discuss this song enlightenment, and we're at this stage here, and this slide number 19, okay, and all of a sudden this thought came to me. You don't realize how tough it is to do this chant Dhamma talk, because it's totally unstructured. Each and every one of you have at a different level, have different interests. So how do we keep you interested so that you don't feel you're wasting your time? It's always a challenge. To me, it's so difficult. Whereas when we lecture a sutra or something, we have a framework. And therefore, those who are interested would come and expect something in return. Well, you come here and say, oh, what am I doing here? Okay, so a thought came. I said, what's the difference between you and a good no advisor in respect regarding yourself? Does the question make sense to you? Oh, I forgot. The conclusion is that, Evan used to be a lot worse, yes? A lot morose and, I'm not feeling good and so forth. So now his life, he jumps around, he plays, and, he connects with people instead of withdrawing to his own shell and his cocoon. And that's depression right there. But every now and then, they still attack him, okay? That's the nature of depression, by the way. And therefore, normally the doctors can't see that. That's why it's so difficult to deal with it. Before, in the prior state, normally the doctors and therapists will give them pills and so forth, meds, in order to lift his spirits a little bit, but also tempers down the upside as well. Okay, so it's no good either. Plus, meds just have chemicals. It's not good for you physically. Okay, actually, there's a lot of damage in your stomach. Okay, those chemicals, it's not good in your stomach. Okay, anyway, so my point was that it's a constant thing. The next level of depression is that now they come back and attack you occasionally. And it's so confusing, you can not tell the difference. Okay, so part of the process is you will learn to deal with it effectively. Okay? All right. So what's the difference? Now that you have more time to think about it, what's the difference between a good no advisor and you with respect to yourself? Anyone else? Does the question make sense to you? Does it make sense? Yes, light blue.
Your good at knowing advisor may know your problem more precisely or at a deeper level than yourself sometimes. I mean, more often than not, I guess.
Very good. Those of you who are new, a good no advisor is a technical term in Chan meditation, means it's a wise teacher. In the Chinese Chan, in our tradition of meditation, we practice meditation by one way. Follow a good no advisor. Follow a wise teacher. That's all we do. Well, you hang in there. It's a lot more involved than you think. It's not that easy to follow. Because sometimes a good no advisor pisses you off. And your ego says, I don't like this. I'm out of here. Okay? So that's why it's very difficult. That's part of the training, by the way. Because in order you to follow a good advisor, the objective when you do that is to practice meditation. Meditation is learn to squash your ego, control your ego. Your ego is the source of all your suffering, all your misery, all your heartaches. Okay? Yeah. And so in the Chinese Chan, in the tradition of the Chinese Chan meditation, when you meditate, is the process there has a goal that most people are not aware of. Okay, that is, when we teach you meditation, we give you training, is for the purpose of leading you to this place where you become freer from your ego more and more and more. You become liberated from your ego, and that's the only way for you to know peace of mind and happiness. as most people are seeking for. As long as your ego still exists, you will never know happiness, guaranteed. That's a Buddhist wisdom. Think about it. I don't care. You look at the history of mankind. Look at the pharaohs, look at the emperors, look at the kings, look at the presidents, look at anyone who feels successful, celebrities, happy wives. Yeah? Do they end up happy? No, not at all. Who wants to disagree with me? Huh? Please disagree with me. I just open my mouth. I'm not trying to impose my views on you. You say, hey, I don't know. What about this? What about this person? How about that person? Invariably, okay, every single person in the history of mankind, as long as they have the ego, they still suffer. That's Buddhist wisdom. Did your mother tell you that? No one told us that, you see? That's the Buddhist wisdom. So it's not your husband's fault. It's not your family's fault, your friend's fault, your boss's fault. It's your ego's fault, and you're suffering. You're unhappy. It's not your wife's fault. Don't fight with her. Don't blame her. Stop blaming her. If everyone gets rid of the ego, what happens? There'll be peace in the world. Every day is a Christmas, because that's the spirit of Christmas. Peace in the world. Yes? What do we say that in Espanol? La paz? Someone? Something? No. Peace in the world. La paz en el mundo or something? Huh? Sorry, forgive my Espanol. I'm more French. My Spanish comes from my French, so please forgive me. No offense intended. French and Spanish actually are very similar, very close. They're like close cousins, first cousins, if you will, from Latin. Yeah, beautiful languages, lovely languages. Anyway, so yes, absolutely. So in Chan meditation, you learn meditation because the best way to learn meditation is to follow someone who is called a wise teacher, who in the tradition of Chan meditation is someone who is a wise teacher, is someone who has got rid of his or her ego. And if someone is free from his or her ego, you follow that person, that's a path that will bring you to the same place as well. And why don't we call it the search of happiness, teacher? Why don't we call it we're looking for happiness? That's what you do, right? At school, you say, "I teach you how to be happy."
No, Master, I don't, because I think when you search for happiness, even if you get it, you're still not happy.
Now, how could you call it happiness? Just a concept, she says. So true. It's so Buddhist as well. Oh my God. Are you even Buddhist? Recently, she says. It's so true. What happened is that the regular people, ordinary people, they are taught to look for happiness and want to be happy. It's that desire and a search for happiness that will prevent them from getting there. from achieving it, from attaining it. Okay, and that's why if we teach you meditation and say, do meditation, I guarantee you happiness, then we are selling to you or misleading you. Because that path there, that concept of happiness, as inputted, is a fallacy. The concept, the worldly concept, ordinary people's concept of happiness is actually an illusion. There's no such a thing as people tell each other, I'm happy, be happier, and so forth. Search for happiness. We're all telling each other to go after, chase after our own shadows. We won't get it. And that's why we cannot mislead you. Okay? We won't do that. So in Buddhism, what's real for you, okay, actually more practical for you, is that search there, the path of meditation, will bring you more peace and bliss, that joy, that pleasure that you don't normally experience. That's what we call bliss. That's from meditation. Okay? So that's the natural process. And then as you get higher and higher, more skilled, then your ego shrinks. That's a requirement. Okay? When I talk about improvement in Chan meditation, okay, in Buddhist meditation, in non-Buddhist meditation, okay, the ego has to shrink. That's the only way for you to feel better by yourself. That will last. Okay? You can feel good about yourself by taking a drink or by eating a good meal, but that doesn't last as long. Whereas this bliss here that you experience through meditation could last a lot longer, days, weeks. The old monk here, he meditates and he says, I feel good for days, for weeks. And that's part of the bliss that we talk about. It's a real feeling of so-called happiness that lasts a lot longer. That's why we don't call it happiness. We call it bliss. The happiness you want is actually an illusion, and it very short-lived, if you will. Think about it. As you get older, you get to be my age, you look back and say, it's so true. All my happy moments are so short-lived. Because I want more, yes? And if you want more, there's suffering right there. If you want more because you still are suffering. Yes? All right. So in meditation, the basis of meditation is we follow someone who has put an end to the ego, and therefore you follow this path, you too will eventually shrink your ego gradually and then eventually end it. And that's when you experience this you put an end to suffering. So in Buddhism, it's more the concept of happiness, okay, is more, in order to be happy, what do? You put an end to your suffering. That's a very subtle distinction that you have to be careful about. Okay? So anyone who wears clothing like me, whether it's a man or woman, or someone who says, I'm a Buddhist expert, I have got a PhD in Buddhology somewhere, and they talk to you about happiness and sell you about happiness concepts, they don't understand Buddhism at all. The purport of Buddhism is put an end to your suffering. If you're free from suffering, what is left? Happiness. Oh, hello. 안녕하세요. Oh, no, she's Chinese. Okay, you got that? Okay, so it's very, very important distinction here. So that's why in Buddhism, we follow someone who got there. I followed my masters, my Chinese master, Master Shenhua. Okay, he's got there, and he's got there very, very advanced level. Because you don't just stop there. You put an end to your ego, and you go a lot further and further and further, and you experience even more and more bliss as you improve. Okay, and so once you get to these people like Master Shenhua, the way he looks at us, the way he knows us, is of course a lot more than we do. Okay, of course, but I want to stress this point. Today is that the difference from the way he looks at you versus the way you look at yourself is that he has a lot more faith in you, exceedingly. It's not just about knowing more about you, have more better insights about you. It's more like he has a lot more faith about who you are and what you can do. A lot more than you think. A lot more than you realize. Okay? And that's why it's important for you when you practice meditation. Second point here is that you should trust your good know advisor, because he does it for you, not for himself. Okay, so that's why in Buddhism we have this concept, a Chan. We have this concept of just follow the good know advisor because he trusts you more, and he sees things about you that you cannot see, and basically you're underestimating yourself. You're the one who are limiting yourself, who are constraining yourself when you don't realize it. All right? So, for today, we'll continue discussing this Song Enlightenment. These are the insights of a good know advisor. He says, I'm enlightened. Okay? When you become enlightened, this is what's going to happen to you. Wouldn't you like to know? This is success for us. It's not in terms of how much money you have, how many stocks you have in your portfolio, like Mr. Buffet. Okay? But what does he do? What is a measure of success? He says, the study is ended. Meaning, he figured out the ego. Yes? And a bit higher level, not only have you figured out your ego, okay, put an end to your ego. If once you know how your ego functions, it's nothing, it can do no more harm to you. Can no longer make you miserable, make you suffer. Okay? That's why you want to figure out your ego. But then you go a step further. Okay, what Master Yung Chia here didn't spell it out for you, but what's implied here is that you can go even further than just put an end to the ego. You also, are on the road to understanding your true self. The ego is just a screen that's in front of you that prevents you from seeing the curtain. Well, actually, as you go beyond that, okay, you begin to see who you really are. That's why it's so important. That's a very important starting point. You want to get to being a superior person, accomplished person, a person who achieved something that is pretty big, pretty significant, meaningful in your life. This is why you want to figure out the ego. So far, so good. Now, the rest of the translation is a little bit off. So I'm going to correct it for you. Okay? He's talking about a sage here, a Buddhist sage, meaning all of you. Not just him. You, including the little girl right there, who's ignoring me completely. She's too absorbed in playing with her playmates. All right? The Chinese is much more precise than the English. That's why it's time for us to change it, okay? 绝学 is the studies ended. That's correct. 无学 here, okay, is not who do nothing. 无为, I'm sorry, 无为 is not to do nothing. That's a wrong translation. What's 无为? Can I change it for you? Is it okay? Okay. What will you do, English-speaking people do, or Chinese-speaking people do if I don't help you understand this? Where's my cursor? Okay. Not do nothing. Okay. Who? Okay. Forget this for now. Who? Oh, what did I do? Okay. Okay. Can I put it down here and while I work on the rest? Who abide in the unconditioned. I explain to you later, but this is what the song is enlightenment pop about. Okay, 道人 who abide. What happened? Caps abide in in unconditioned. Okay, comma. 贤道人. Okay, who okay, 贤道 is 贤 here is a concept of leisure. It's no longer feel pressed by time, by the mother, by the children, by success, by anyone. Okay, 道人 men of the way. By in a condition, and how do you say that in English? Leisurely lives. Now he lives leisurely, behaves leisurely. Okay, and 道人 and men of the way. How do you say that? Oh. No pale-faced people here except for Vicky, which is not really pale-faced. How do you express it? What happened to Michael? He doesn't count.